6:14 a.m. local time. The first warning is not a siren, it is a shift in geometry. On the radar display inside the Combat Information Center, 3 surface contacts that had been moving on loose, harmless headings suddenly turn at once. Not slowly, not by chance. 3 bows swing in almost perfect sequence until all 3 are aimed at the same point. A U.S. warship. Surface contacts changing course, the CIC watchstander calls out. Bearing 089, 3 vessels closing. On the bridge, no one wastes a word. The sea is calm, the morning light hard and unforgiving, and the horizon is clear enough to make every movement impossible to miss. Off the starboard side, 3 dark shapes ride low on the water, still far out, but no longer uncertain. A moment ago, they looked like ordinary traffic. Now they look deliberate. The captain studies them through the bridge windows without changing expression. Track all 3, bridge-to-bridge hail, record everything. That is how it begins. No shouting, no speeches, just procedure. The first radio call goes out, crisp and formal, across maritime channels. Unidentified surface vessels. This is a United States warship operating in international waters. You are approaching on an unsafe bearing. State your intentions. No response, no acknowledgement, no course change, no hesitation. Inside CIC, operators begin breaking the picture apart. One contact is slightly ahead of the other 2 and moving at the highest speed. Another drifts wider along the left edge of the formation, not falling behind, but taking position. The third stays just outside the main line, keeping enough distance to react to whatever happens next. This is not random movement, it is spacing. The tactical action officer leans over the display. Lead contact accelerated, 7.8 nautical miles. Another voice follows at once. Outer contact widening starboard. Possible flanking position. The captain hears every word through the bridge circuit. He does not interrupt, he does not have to. On a U.S. Navy warship, everyone in that chain already understands what those movements suggest. 1 vessel to pressure, 1 to block, 1 to support. Outside, the gun mount shifts a few degrees. Not enough to threaten, just enough to be noticed. Long-range optics lock on. Electronic support systems start scanning for emissions. Every radar sweep, every bearing change, every knot of speed is being logged. Not because anyone wants this to intensify, but because if it does, the record has to be exact. At 6:15, the nearest contact sharpens on the camera feed. Gray hull, fast attack profile, no friendly signal, no effort to identify itself. 6.9 nautical miles, CIC reports. A second hail goes out, firmer this time. Iranian vessels approaching U.S. warship. Alter course immediately. You are creating a hazardous situation. Still nothing. No voice, no click of a microphone, just 3 vessels continuing to close. The bridge remains almost unnaturally quiet. Through the windows, the wake lines tell the story before the hulls do. The lead Iranian vessel is now driving straight in, its bow cutting a clean white path across the blue water. The second contact angles inward from the opposite side, narrowing the space ahead of the U.S. ship's projected track. The third remains farther out, watching, waiting, holding room to maneuver. Inside CIC, the labels change. Contact 1, lead approach. Contact 2, crossing threat. Contact 3, outer support. Clinical language for a dangerous pattern. At 6:16, one of the Iranian vessels briefly lights up the electronic picture. A narrow surface search sweep brushes the U.S. warship, then disappears. EWS confirms intermittent radar emission, the electronic warfare operator reports. Low power, they're painting. That matters not because it is a direct lock. It is not. It matters because the approach is no longer only visual. They are measuring range, heading, speed. Intent is becoming organized. The captain gives another order at last. Set higher alert posture. Maintain course. Do not escalate. That is the line for now. Hold steady. Do not give up the water ahead of the bow unless there is no other choice. Make the other side reveal its intentions through movement, not assumption. The distance keeps falling. 6 nautical miles, then 5.4, then 5. The lead Iranian vessel is now close enough for the cameras to catch movement on deck. Figures moving, helmets, crew stepping into position near the forward section. On the second vessel, a crewman appears beside a deck-mounted system. He is not operating it yet, but he is not ignoring it either. No one on the U.S. ship mistakes that for routine seamanship. At 6:17, CIC updates the closest point of approach, and the number is dropping fast. CPA under 3 nautical miles and shrinking. That hits hard because every sailor in the room understands exactly what it means. At sea, distance equals time, and 3 miles vanishes quickly when several armed vessels are closing from converging angles. The captain keeps his eyes on the water ahead. Hail them again. The transmission goes out once more. Iranian naval vessels, alter course now. You are approaching a United States warship at an unsafe distance. This is your final warning. Nothing. No answer on the radio, no turn away from the bow, no reduction in speed. Instead, the three ships tighten their pattern. The lead contact drives forward like a spear tip. The second cuts inward to shape the intercept. The third stays just outside, exactly where a support vessel would want to be if this turns into something far more serious. On the bridge, no one calls it harassment anymore. Inside CIC, the tactical action officer studies the screen, then says what the geometry has already made clear. This is coordinated. At 6:18 local time, with the range dropping below 4 nautical miles, 3 Iranian vessels continue closing on a single U.S. warship from 3 directions at once. And the first truly dangerous minute has just begun. By 6:19 local time, the net is starting to tighten. No one says it out loud on the bridge. They do not need to. The radar picture says enough. The lead Iranian vessel surges ahead by another 2 knots, its wake thickening into a hard white line. Off the port side of the formation, the second ship angles inward more aggressively. It is no longer shadowing, no longer probing. It is now shaping the water directly in front of the U.S. warship's bow. Inside CIC, the update comes quickly. Lead contact now 26 knots. Crossing contact tightening angle. Outer contact holding wide, matching. 3 separate movements, 1 coordinated effect. The captain keeps his hand still on the bridge rail. Maintain speed, minimal rudder corrections only. That order matters. Too much movement now, and the U.S. ship gives away initiative. Too little, and the geometry closes around her. This is the part of a maritime confrontation that never looks dramatic from far away. No fire, no smoke, just steel moving across open water, each turn pushing the other side toward a smaller and smaller box. At 6:20, the nearest Iranian vessel is close enough for long-range optics to reveal hull detail. Gray paint, sharp bow, light spray breaking over the foredeck, crew visible topside. 1 man near the forward mount, another moving aft with urgency, not confusion. The surface warfare coordinator speaks into the net. No indication of distress, no indication of navigation error. That leaves intent. Another bridge-to-bridge hail goes out. Iranian naval vessels, you are creating risk of collision with the United States warship. Alter course immediately. Silence. No voice, no click. No static. Only the steady rush of water along the hull and the tightening spread of 3 separate wakes converging toward the same patch of sea. The second Iranian vessel keeps cutting inward. It is no longer simply approaching the American ship. It is building a crossing line, threatening to force either a turn or a reduction in speed. The third vessel remains farther out, holding angle and distance in exactly the position where it can either support the closed pass or exploit whatever opening the first 2 create. Inside CIC, the closest point of approach updates again. CPA now 2.1 nautical miles. Then, a moment later, time to CPA, 6 minutes. The bridge gets even quieter. That number is no longer just uncomfortable, it is operationally dangerous. The captain makes the next decision with care. Bring CIWS to ready status. Keep it cold. Below deck and above it, systems shift without drama. No blaring soundtrack, no visible panic. Only the low hum of machinery moving into a new posture. Remote stations align. Sensors refine their tracks. The ship does exactly what it was built to do. Absorb information, hold discipline, and wait until action becomes unavoidable. At 6:21, the Seahawk crew is ordered to stand by on the flight deck. The rotor blades are still tied down for the moment, but the aircraft is no longer just routine equipment. It is becoming an option, a presence tool, an eye in the sky, a signal that can move faster than the ship itself. Then the lead Iranian vessel makes its boldest move yet. Instead of holding a parallel pressure line, it turns harder across the American ship's projected path. Lead contact crossing, CIC snaps. The camera feed shows it clearly. The Iranian vessel is not drifting. It is driving at speed across the U.S. warship's bow, forcing a decision in real time. If the American captain holds course too long, the gap closes to the point where collision becomes possible. If he turns too early, he gives up the sea room without protest. The meaning of the maneuver is unmistakable. Pressure applied with steel. CPA 1.5 CIC reports. The officer of the deck watches the angle through the bridge glass, judges the closure, and waits 1 second longer. Then, the captain gives the order. Right 5 degrees, steady, do not overcorrect. The helm answers at once. Outside, the bow of the U.S. warship shifts just enough to open water, where seconds earlier, there was almost none left. It is not retreat, it is controlled avoidance. The smallest correction possible to prevent impact while still holding posture. Professional, precise, deliberate. But everyone aboard understands what just happened. Iran forced a reaction, and that fact is logged the instant it happens. At 6:22, the lead Iranian vessel cuts across the forward sector at a dangerously close distance. Spray kicks off its hull as it slices through the American ship's projected path, close enough to turn a navigation problem into a tactical message. The second vessel, reading the turn, tightens from the opposite side as if prepared to take advantage of any confusion. The third still lingers outside the pocket, disciplined and patient, watching for the next opening. Inside CIC, the picture turns darker. "They're collapsing the maneuver box," one operator says. No one disagrees. Electronic warfare catches another brief sweep, this one longer and more deliberate. "They're scanning us again." On the optics feed, movement appears near a deck-mounted system aboard one of the Iranian vessels. Another crewman steps into view near a launcher housing, maybe preparing, maybe signaling. In a situation like this, maybe is more than enough to change everything. The captain never raises his voice. "Mark hostile maneuvering. Repeat warning." The radio call goes out at once, sharp and unmistakable. "Iranian vessels, you are conducting unsafe and escalatory maneuvers against a United States warship. Alter course now." For the first time, sound comes back across the channel. Not a full transmission, not a real reply, just a clipped, distorted fragment. Too brief to explain, too pointed to ignore. Then the outer contact changes speed, not away, forward. Inside CIC, three heads snap toward the screen at once. Outer contact accelerating. The bridge looks back out over bright morning water, now carved by converging wakes and tightening angles. One vessel has already forced a turn. Another is inside dangerous crossing range. The third is moving up, no longer content to wait. This is no longer just pressure. This is setup. And at 6:23 local time, as the first vessel clears the bow and the second closes from the flank, a sudden flash of movement breaks across one Iranian deck. Inside CIC, the call lands like a hammer. Weapon movement. 6:23 local time. The first launch does not sound cinematic. It sounds short, flat, and violent. From the outer Iranian vessel, a burst of smoke punches off the deck line. Not a flare, not sea spray. Something has just left rail or tube at speed. Inside CIC, the call is immediate. Missile smoke, outer contact, outer contact. The bridge does not freeze, it compresses. The captain turns once toward the tactical display. Set self-defense, engage by doctrine. That is the instant the encounter changes. Up to now, every move has lived inside the narrow space between intimidation and open attack. Now that space is gone. Combat systems respond at once. Sensors already locked on shift from watch mode to engagement mode. Threat symbols flare across the consoles. The outer Iranian vessel is no longer a contact to track. It is now the primary danger. Track assigned. Solution building. Recommend immediate countermeasure. The ship moves before the sentence is even finished. Electronic warfare rises to full combat posture. Decoy logic arms. Defensive systems align through the ship like nerves firing through a single body. There is no drama in it, only speed. This is what training looks like when steel, timing, and lives all meet at once. Outside, the sea that had looked empty and blue less than 10 minutes earlier is now cut into chaos by converging wakes. The lead Iranian vessel, the one that forced the turn across the bow, remains inside the danger ring. The second vessel is still off-angle, close enough to exploit distraction. And now the third, the patient one, has revealed why it stayed wide. It was preserving room to fire. "Time to threat?" the captain asks. "Seconds," CIC answers. "Execute." A defensive response erupts from the US warship in a blur of motion and flame. The exact system matters less than the sequence. Detect, assign, fire, confirm. The counter comes fast enough to break the attack before it can close the final distance. From the bridge windows, sailors catch a sharp flash low over the water, followed almost immediately by a violent plume of spray and dark smoke. Something out there is taken out before it reaches its mark. But no one celebrates, because the confrontation is already expanding. The lead Iranian vessel, still ahead of the American bow, turns hard, as if trying to turn the confusion into a closer attack angle. On the opposite side, the second vessel surges in, cutting the distance even further. Whether they expected that first launch to land or simply create an opening no longer mattered. Their formation had crossed the line from pressure into direct confrontation. Contact 1 closing, Contact 2 increasing speed, multiple threat vessels inside the surface engagement zone. The captain's next order is short and clear. Take the nearest shooter first, break the formation. That becomes the logic of the fight, not to chase every danger at once, and not to focus on the farthest contact first. Break the coordinated move before all three vessels can keep acting as a single system. The forward gun answers. This time the sound leaves no doubt. Heavy, measured force delivered with precision. The rounds are no longer going into open water as a warning. They are going onto a threat track at decisive range. The nearest Iranian vessel, the one that had cut hard across the bow and stayed inside the pocket, takes the first impact. On the optics feed, the strikes register as sharp flashes along the forward half of the hull. Then comes smoke, followed by a burst of debris thrown from the superstructure. Contact 1 hit, CIC reports, still making way. The Iranian ship does not drop out cleanly. It yaws, throws spray, and keeps moving, but the rhythm is gone. Its path through the water is no longer controlled. Speed begins to fall away. Smoke thickens. The figures that had been visible on deck vanish from sight. The second Iranian vessel reacts at once, turning in even harder, as if trying to restore pressure by closing the distance. It pushes in from the flank, betting on short range and confusion. The U.S. warship answers by changing the picture again. Left rudder, open the angle. Keep guns on contact 2. The ship bends just enough to deny an easy crossing lane while keeping its firing arc. It is a small correction, but tactically it matters. The American ship is no longer simply holding together inside the trap. It is starting to reshape it. By 6:25, the water between the vessels is filled with smoke, disturbed wakes, and the residue of burned propellant. What had started as a clean 3-axis approach is now fractured. One Iranian ship is damaged and slipping out of disciplined movement. The second is pressing too close, too fast. The third remains farther out, but no longer unnoticed. Inside CIC, operators fight for a clean picture through the clutter. Maintain track on contact 3. Contact 2 now, primary surface threat. Recommend re-engagement. On the camera feed, the second Iranian vessel shows movement near its forward section. Crew bunching low. Another shape turning toward the American ship, a team trying to use the few seconds before the U.S. ship fully resets. The response is immediate. More gunfire, more controlled bursts, not wasteful, not rushed, precise enough to force distance, strong enough to break confidence. Rounds strike the water just ahead of the approaching vessel, then walk inward. One impact lands high enough to scatter fragments across the visible deck line. The Iranian ship breaks its approach angle, not fully turning away, but no longer driving in with the same certainty. That matters too. The coordinated attack is starting to come apart. One ship damaged, one ship checked. But the third vessel is still out there. Still intact. Still holding the one thing the others have now lost. Space. And at sea, space means opportunity. At 6:26, through smoke and broken geometry, the outer Iranian vessel begins to swing into a cleaner firing arc. It had waited through the first exchange, waited while the nearest ships absorbed the American response, waited while the water filled with distraction. Inside CIC, one operator sees it first. Contact 3 maneuvering for line of fire. The captain lifts his eyes toward the bridge glass, toward the distant gray shape cutting across the bright water. The most dangerous vessel had stayed back for a reason. Now it was finally making its move. At 6:27 local time, the 4th minute of the exchange belongs to the ship that waited. Through broken wakes and drifting smoke, the outer Iranian vessel cuts into a cleaner arc off the U.S. warship's starboard quarter. It is farther out than the other two, less damaged, less disrupted. And until now, it has avoided the worst of the American return fire. That distance was never hesitation. It was design. It preserved room to fire, while the others closed in and forced reactions. Inside CIC, the tactical plot clears just enough to show the danger. Contact 3 has line of fire, range opening slightly. Recommend immediate engagement. The captain does not hesitate. Take it. The response moves through the ship in exact sequence. Sensors refine the track. Fire control assigns priority. The bridge does not talk over CIC, and CIC does not crowd the bridge. Each station does its part, because this is what discipline looks like under pressure. No wasted words, no overlap, just clean execution. The American warship shifts just enough to improve its own firing geometry. Right rudder, steady. Outside, the bow moves a few degrees. Not a dramatic turn, but enough to improve the ship's angle while denying the Iranian vessel its easiest window. On the horizon, the outer contact seems to realize that window is closing. Spray builds harder along its hull. It is either committing fully or trying to beat the U.S. ship by a second. It doesn't. The American gun fires again. This time, the rounds reach farther. Across the open water, the impacts walk toward the Iranian vessel with chilling accuracy. One falls short, another flashes along the hull, then a third lands deeper, somewhere near the forward third of the ship. On the optics feed, the image jumps with spray, fragments, and a sudden bloom of dark smoke. Contact 3 hit. Damage observed forward. No one aboard the U.S. warship treats a hit as the end of the threat. Not yet. A damaged vessel can still fire. A burning vessel can still keep coming. The captain knows that, and so does everyone else. Stay on it. The outer Iranian vessel tries to hold its firing angle, but the damage is beginning to show. Its bow line wavers. Smoke thickens near the forward section. For a moment, the wake loses its shape, then shortens. Speed is fading. At the same time, the second Iranian vessel, the one pressing from the flank, makes one last aggressive move. Maybe it sees the outer ship losing momentum. Maybe it understands the coordinated attack is coming apart. And this is the final chance to force damage before the whole formation breaks. Whatever the reason, it turns in hard again, trying to push into a range where reaction time collapses and every second becomes more dangerous. Contact 2 reapproaching fast. The bridge glass fills with motion, smoke hanging low, white water cutting through white water. The damaged lead vessel drifting farther out of useful position. The outer vessel smoking but still afloat. And now the flank ship charging in with desperate speed. The captain's answer is immediate. Shift fire. Nearest threat. That is the logic of a professional fight at sea. Not revenge, not fixation. The most dangerous target is the one that can still reach you first. The gun mounts realign. The U.S. warship hits the approaching vessel before it can finish the run. Impacts walk across the waterline and into the visible structure above it. Through the optics, a sharp burst tears from near the center section of the Iranian ship. Then another. Almost instantly, the vessel breaks off its line, throwing itself into a hard, uneven turn to escape the engagement zone. Contact 2 breaking. Possible damage midship. For the first time since 614, all 3 Iranian vessels are no longer advancing as a unit. One is trailing smoke and nearly out of the fight. One has lost the confidence to keep charging. One is damaged at range and slowing down. Inside CIC, you can hear the shift before anyone says it aloud. The rhythm changes. The calls are no longer about surviving the geometry. They are about controlling it. Contact 1 drifting outside effective position. Contact 2 no longer on intercept heading. Contact 3 slowing. Fire still visible. The American warship has taken back control of the engagement. Not because the sea has gone quiet, it has not. Smoke still drifts. Radar returns still jump through the clutter. Weapon stations still track every possible movement. But the balance is no longer in question. 8 minutes earlier, the Iranian vessels were shaping the water. Now they are reacting to it. At 6:29, the last intact Iranian vessel tries one final gamble. Instead of turning fully away, it cuts inward again, sharper than before, as if trying to force a close pass. Maybe one last firing angle, maybe even a collision threat, before withdrawing. This is no longer a disciplined attack. It is a final throw from a ship that knows the formation has failed. The bridge watches it unfold in real time. Contact 2 committing. The captain does not raise his voice. End it. The next American burst is the cleanest of the engagement. The rounds land with enough accuracy to break whatever remained of the vessel's confidence and control. On the camera feed, spray erupts high off the bow, followed by a flash along the forward deck line, and then a sharp turn away from the U.S. warship's track. The vessel turns out, no longer shaping the fight, no longer trying to close, only trying to reach open water. That is the moment the battle truly changes. Not when the first shot was fired, not when the first ship was hit, but here, when the last vessel still capable of pressing the attack finally turns away under fire. Inside CIC, the tactical action officer says what everyone already sees. They're breaking contact. The captain keeps watching the 3 gray shapes spread apart across a sea they no longer control. 8 minutes earlier, they had moved in like hunters. Now they were the ones trying to get clear. By 6:31 local time, the water looks nothing like it did when this began. 8 minutes earlier, the sea off the U.S. warship's starboard side had been open, blue, and calm. Now it is carved by broken wakes, drifting smoke, and dark streaks spreading low across the surface. One Iranian vessel is trailing a dirty plume from the forward section. Another is limping out of the fight on an uneven line. The third, the one that made the last desperate turn inward, is already swinging away, its stern digging hard as it tries to claw back distance. Inside CIC, no one assumes it is over. Maintain tracks on all 3. Watch for secondary weapons. Confirm no additional contacts. That is how a real engagement ends at sea. Not with relief, but with confirmation. On the bridge, the captain stands exactly where he was when those first 3 contacts turned together on the radar. Same posture, same steady voice. But the tactical picture around him is completely different now. The Iranian formation that came in as a coordinated strike no longer exists as a single force. The geometry is broken. The timing is broken. The confidence is broken. Still, a damaged vessel can remain dangerous. At 6:32, the nearest Iranian ship, the one that took the last precise burst and turned away, does something that pulls every eye on the bridge back to the glass. Instead of continuing a clean withdrawal, its bow hesitates, then shifts slightly inward again. Not a full run, not yet, but enough to force the question. Inside CIC, the report comes at once. Contact 2 showing minor reorientation, range increasing but bow angle shifting. The captain does not let the moment breathe. Hold weapons on it. Across the American warship, every system stays locked. The gun remains trained. Optics stay fixed on the track. Electronic warfare keeps listening for one more sweep, one more sign that the withdrawal might be masking a final move. For a few seconds, the damaged Iranian vessel hangs in that narrow space between disengaging and trying one last chance. Smoke pours from near the forward deck. Its wake is ragged now, no longer the clean line of a ship acting with purpose, but the trail of a hull trying to stay together. On the optics feed, figures move across the deck in bursts, not with the rhythm of a coordinated crew, but with the disorder of men dealing with fire, shock, and damaged equipment. Then the U.S. warship makes the final move of the encounter. Not reckless, not emotional. Final. A precise burst cuts across the water ahead of the Iranian vessel's new angle. Close enough to make the message unmistakable. Accurate enough to leave no doubt about what happens if it turns back in again. The effect is immediate. The ship's bow swings back out harder this time. No hesitation, no second thought. Inside CIC, the update arrives almost calmly. Contact 2 now fully withdrawing. That is the turning point. Not a speech, not a chase into the distance. Just the moment when the last hostile ship, still thinking about one more move, decides against it. By 6:33, the 3 Iranian vessels are no longer one tactical problem. They are 3 separate survival situations. Contact 1, the original lead ship, is still afloat but badly damaged, venting smoke and barely holding a steady line through the water. Contact 2 is pulling away the fastest, damaged enough to abandon the fight, but still intact enough to escape. Contact 3, the vessel that waited for the cleanest firing angle and then lost it under disciplined American return fire, is falling farther astern, its speed visibly reduced and its deck marked by the strike that took away its initiative. The U.S. warship does not rush after them blindly. That matters because this is not panic fire. It is not revenge. It is controlled combat discipline from first contact to the final minute. The ship holds the battle space, confirms there is no immediate second wave, checks for damage, and keeps every sensor facing outward. The crew knows better than to confuse success with safety. If 3 hostile vessels coordinated one strike, there could always be another layer beyond the horizon. The captain shifts from engagement to control. Damage report, magazine status, recheck sectors. The answers come back one by one, clipped and professional. The American ship is still operational, still maneuvering, still controlling the water around it. No one cheers in CIC. No one slams a console in celebration. The bridge stays quiet except for reports, acknowledgements, and the steady language of a crew doing exactly what it was trained to do. By 6:34, the encounter is effectively over. Smoke trails stretch across the morning sea, where the Iranian attack unraveled minute by minute. The ship that opened the clash by forcing pressure across the American bow is no longer a factor. The flank vessel that tried to exploit confusion has been driven off. The outer vessel that waited for the clearest shot never got to use the advantage it thought it had. They had numbers. They had the first move. They had 3 angles against 1 U.S. warship. But once they crossed from intimidation into open action, they ran into the thing the U.S. Navy does better than almost anyone else in the world. Detect early, stay composed, fight by procedure, and respond with precision. From the bridge, the captain watches the 3 Iranian ships scatter farther apart across open water. No longer coordinated, no longer pressing, no longer in control. They came in with numbers. They left trailing smoke.